My husband became a robot and I don't know how to help him. The title sounds insane, but here I go. We've been married for 6 years and have 2 kids. I'm pregnant with a third. My husband works from 9 to 5, comes home, does his chores, plays with our 2 kids, talks to me for a little bit, and then goes to sleep, but he doesn't seem to enjoy doing any of it, like this whole thing is one big chore. He used to be this goofy guy who smiled and told jokes all the time, but I haven't seen the man smile in months. It's not like he's neglecting his duties as a husband and father, but he acts like it's just that, duties, like hanging with the kids and me is a second job. I'm grateful for all he's doing, and he makes all of our lives so much easier, but it's like he's constantly on the clock and I think he might be depressed. I tried asking him if he was doing okay and he tells me he's doing fantastic, but I know he's not. That's the line he uses at work when customers try to make small talk and ask how he's doing. He doesn't take any time for himself, he doesn't take any breaks, he stopped playing games and stopped watching TV, he just does what I feel he thinks needs to be done and I don't know how to help him out. Our sex life has become one-sided, we do it frequently but only because I initiate frequently, even if he doesn't seem in the mood he'll do it, like it's his responsibility to make me happy. It feels like he isn't there in the moment, like his mind is wandering the whole time we're intimate, and that, to me, feels worse than getting rejected. I don't know what's going on, and I don't know how to help because he won't let me in. To anybody else he seems fine, but I know something is wrong and I don't know how to fix this. I miss my husband, the guy who complained and told jokes, not this robotic shell that looks like him. Edit. Alright, wow. I didn't expect this to blow up. I want to thank you all for your advice. I really appreciate it. It's clear to me now that my husband is overworked and burned out. He comes home from work in a couple hours and I'm going to sit him down and talk to him. I'm going to tell him how I feel, and I hope that together we can find a solution that turns him back into the man he once was. I'm sorry if wasn't able to respond to everyone, but I want you all to know I read every comment and response. I'll post an update soon about how it goes. Bye. Hey everybody, here's the update. I wrote this a couple days ago, but couldn't post it because it was too soon. My husband came home at around 6 o'clock, and after he had something to eat, I took him to the bedroom to talk. I sat him down on the bed and told him I was worried about him. I didn't know exactly how to phrase my worries, so I just showed him my original post. When he finished reading the post, he started crying, like full-on crying. In all the years that I have known this man, I had never seen a tear roll down his eye. I held him for a few minutes until he could recompose himself, and he told me everything. He told me that the world was in a shitty place right now, and that we're bringing a child into a stressful time. He said when I became pregnant he felt he had to step up. He needed to take care of things because it was his responsibility. He said that the weight of carrying the family was so much harder than he anticipated, so he thought if he doubled down he could get through it. But the more he tried, the darker the tunnel got, and eventually he couldn't see an end. He said that he feels like he's constantly drowning, and the only breath of fresh air is on the car ride between home and work. He said that sometimes the stress is so much that he throws up, but doesn't tell anyone and instead keeps going with his day. He then pulled out a pack of gum from his pocket and said this was for when it happens. I asked him why he couldn't tell me any of this, and he said he didn't want to burden me with the truth. He said that he thought if he told me everything, that I would stop seeing him as a protector and provider, and that I would inevitably stop loving him. Hearing him say that brought tears to my eyes because I didn't know where he got the notion I would feel that way. I asked him if he wanted to quit his job, but surprisingly, he said the job doesn't bother him. He said the work in of itself was fine, it's just now he feels an added weight to provide because not only was he fortunate enough to keep his job in the pandemic, but we also had a kid on the way. He said that some days he feels like packing a suitcase and running to some tropical island for a week and not telling anyone, but then he feels guilty and doubles down even more. I told him that maybe he should go on a trip. I said that he deserved a break, and maybe if he did exactly that he'd feel better. He tried to protest, but I insisted. In the end said that he'll only go if we go together, like a romantic getaway between spouses. Once things start to clear up and before the baby is due, he wants to take a week off from work, drop the kids off at grandma's house and have us go on a vacation, just the two of us, like we used to when we first got married. He also said he wants to take the day off tomorrow and just sleep in, so that's the plan. I'll call his boss tomorrow and say that he's sick and can't come in. It's not like they'll make a sick man come into work, there's a pandemic going on. Right now he's playing with the kids and it doesn't feel like he's doing one of his chores. He actually seems to be enjoying himself. For the first time in months I don't see the robot, I see my husband. Edit. Hey everyone, I want to thank you all for the support. I read all of your comments, and I appreciate all of you. I didn't expect this to get so much traction, so I want to clarify some things. First things first, my husband says hi. I wanted to clarify about the chores people are taking about. I want to say that I know as a son the bulk of chores goes to me. I cook and clean and do laundry because I know it's my responsibility. My husband's only chores are doing dishes, vacuuming every 3 days, and a few other house maintenance stuff. I did in fact call in sick for my husband, but I made sure that I said he had a migraine. I saw on Google that it wasn't a symptom of COVID if it was an isolated symptom. His boss was okay with it and said he can come back whenever he feels better. The pregnancy wasn't an accident. We both did want to have 3 kids because we were both raised in 3-kid families. We actively tried for the first 2, but for baby number 3 it was kind of a if it happens kind of thing. We're both happy with the amount of kids we have/will have and are hopefully done. We are not considering abortion nor adoption. We realize that a 1-week vacation isn't enough to get rid of his stress and are both trying to come up with a solution that alleviates his stress in a more sustainable way. Right now we're thinking about setting up an hour or 2 a day that's daddy's time, no kids, no me, no work, just for him to relax. To those of you who think this fake, there isn't any way I can change your minds about this situation, so I'm not really too bothered. I just hope this never happens to you guys. You all have been supportive and really a wonderful bunch of people. I really think we can get through this, and it wouldn't have been possible without you guys. I'm not going to reply to comments because, like last time, it's an overwhelming amount, but just know I'm reading these as they come in. Good night everyone, it's been great. Second story, my 40F good guy husband 40M is making a bad judgment call that has ruined our relationship. How do I show him the error of his ways? Very long story short, my husband of 15 years became suspicious of me about 5 years ago. During conflict, he began accusing me of lying frequently and adopted all sorts of passive-aggressive behaviors. Prior to this, our bond was strong, we adored each other. I used to think we had something of a once-in-a-lifetime love story. So as the conflict kept coming, I remember being confused mostly but also just boiling angry when he began behaving in ways I would have sworn were beneath him. He started to not like our best friends, my lifelong bestie, Jane, who was my maid of honor and more importantly her husband, Joe, saying we were spending too much time together. Our kids grew up like cousins. During this time, I would meet Joe at the gym in the mornings. My relationship with my husband kept going down the toilet and I was completely shocked when one day during a time I was trying to apologize and be accountable for what I could be in terms of our dysfunction. He blew my mind when he suggested I was having an affair with Joe. Joe had never once crossed a boundary with me. We've loved each other like brother and sister ever since he became part of Jane's life. He also adored and was a great friend to my husband John. John couldn't be convinced nothing ever happened and began going through my phone and demanding I don't text Joe anymore. At first I pushed back. John never exerted this level of control before and I hated it and it wasn't warranted, but every area of my life became more under surveillance and he began believing he found evidence. I told him he wasn't allowed to make the calls of who I spoke to. My philosophy was pretty much like, geez dude, it's 2023, get over this, and I'm allowed to text guys and still be a faithful and loyal wife. John sidestepped over me and told Joe not to text me anymore, which made me livid on principle. Joe's relationship to mine wasn't ever more than a friend, but I felt John was fracturing our marriage because he wasn't respecting my boundaries. John began to trash talk our friends. Joe and Jane began being concerned, rightfully, and tried to intervene. We sat down, all 4 of us, and John downplayed everything. John went to the church and asked for support. The men in church affirmed him something was suspicious and that I was too entangled in my friends' lives. He went to therapy and told me his therapist said I was emotionally abusive. I kept getting more angry and honestly not doing great handling the loss of control and the accusations. I took a step back. Things kept getting worse. At one point I gave up Joe and Jane to try to show John the first chose him, but it still was a chaotic mess. Now, fast forward to present day, I live separately. The amount of accusations that have come up have just piled one on top of the other. I adore my husband and I'm still so confused about everything that went down, but my mental health spiraled beyond belief and I had to get away from him. I felt constant attack, shame and anxiety around him. When I wasn't under suspicion, I was being caught, all the while hearing how Joe is a terrible friend, Jane is in on all of it, an accomplice to the affair, and I'm a selfish abusive person, which frankly, I can be selfish but I don't think I'm abusive, but I will say, my reactions became explosive there for a while. I need to pause briefly to say I've been friend with the same crew of people for 25 years, I have close meaningful friendships and John now has all new friends and is starting to tell me our kids can't be around our friends' kids. BC, they're all bad influences, his new friends' kids are okay though. Here's the thing, John is a good man, he is kind, friendly, I always loved his sense of humor, all of that is gone between us but I still cannot let myself let go of the marriage. I stayed with him for 3 days over the holiday and he awoke one night sure he saw me swipe my phone closed real quick after sending someone a selfie of me. That didn't happen. Since then, he is trying to tell me he trusts me but he has also affirmed several times that he knows what he saw. John is functional in every part of his life except for this paranoia that he has with me. No amount of explaining have been able to break through and I can't be around him for more than 24 hours without the tension boiling and my own emotional state derailing. The move from our family home saved me. John keeps asking me to come back but he's still committed to this affair idea. He asks me to come home and he even lays on the romance and I fall for it. We have short brief moments of confusing connection and then this falls apart. If I'm near him, I shudder every time my phone rings when my friends text or call. BC, it's like someone killed a puppy in the room with how he shuts down.